"You're removed from the will." The room didn't react, but I did. Not outwardly. Not yet. Inside, something cracked so cleanly, it almost sounded polite. My father folded his hands on the table like a judge who'd already reached the verdict. My mother's mouth curved into a thin, satisfied smile. My brother stared straight ahead, already imagining a future where he never had to work again. The lawyer cleared his throat and slid the documents toward my brother. $6 million. The family estate. Generations of land, accounts, and power, transferred with a few calm signatures. My mother finally spoke, her voice soft and venomous. "You were always our biggest failure." "My name is Katerina Rowe. I'm the firstborn, the daughter who learned early that love in this family was conditional. I paid my own tuition, built my own career, stayed close when things fell apart. I was the one who showed up when my parents called, not my brother. But effort doesn't sparkle like entitlement." My brother, Lucas, finally smirked. He hadn't earned any of it. He still depended on our parents for rent, for excuses, for direction. But he was the son, the continuation, the one they could brag about. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I didn't ask why. I stood up, thanked the lawyer, and walked out, already knowing that day would not be the end of the story. I drove home in silence, hands steady on the wheel, like my body hadn't caught up to what had just happened. The house I rented suddenly felt smaller, cheaper, like proof they'd been right about me all along. They hadn't always hated me. That's the lie people assume. The truth was worse. I was useful. Growing up, I was the fixer. When Dad's business hit rough patches, I helped with paperwork. When Mom needed someone to vent to at midnight, I answered. When my brother skipped responsibility, I covered for him. I became reliable so young that no one ever thought to reward it. Lucas was different. He failed loudly. He demanded forgiveness like it was currency. And somehow, that translated to potential. Over the years, little things added up. Family vacations planned when I couldn't get time off. Holidays rescheduled around Lucas's moods. Jokes about how I was too serious, too intense, not warm enough. Still, I believed effort would matter eventually. 2 weeks after the will meeting, Mom called like nothing had happened. She asked if I could help her review some investment documents. I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I said I was busy. That's when the pressure started. Subtle at first. Missed calls. Passive-aggressive texts. Then Dad left a voicemail reminding me that family loyalty is remembered. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just punishment. It was erasure. And they expected me to disappear quietly. The invitations stopped coming first. No Sunday dinners. No group chats. No updates about birthdays or anniversaries. It was like I'd been edited out of the family photo, and no one wanted to mention the empty space. Then the rumors started reaching me anyway. A cousin let it slip that my parents were telling people I'd drifted away. That I was bitter about money. That I'd always been difficult. According to them, cutting me out of the will wasn't cruelty. It was consequence. Lucas leaned into the story. He posted photos from the estate like it already belonged to him. Wine glasses on the terrace. Captioned quotes about earning what's yours. I stared at one photo too long and realized he was wearing a watch I'd bought Dad years ago. That one stung more than the money. I finally broke my silence and called my father. Asked him, calmly, what I'd done that made me unworthy. He sighed, like I was exhausting him. "You never fit into the bigger picture," he said. "You think too small." My mother took the phone and finished it. "You should have been grateful for what you had. Instead, you always wanted more." I hung up shaking, not from anger, but clarity. They didn't cut me out because I failed. They cut me out because I didn't need them, and that terrified them more than they'd ever admit. That night, I opened my laptop and pulled up files I hadn't looked at in 2 years, things I'd built quietly, without their help. And for the first time since the will meeting, I smiled. The humiliation came dressed as an invitation. Lucas was hosting a charity gala at the estate, his first big public move as the heir. The kind of event meant to announce power without saying it out loud. Old money families. Local press. A photographer who'd been told exactly where to stand. My name was on the guest list. I almost didn't go. Almost. But something told me this night mattered. I arrived alone, in a simple black dress, right as Lucas was mid-speech on the terrace. He was talking about legacy again. About how our parents had trusted him to carry the family name forward. Then he saw me. The pause was microscopic, but the cameras caught it. After the applause, Dad pulled me aside in front of 3 donors and said, loudly enough to travel, "I didn't expect you to come. This is really more family business now." My mother laughed. She just wants attention. Lucas didn't stop there. He raised his glass and added, smiling, "Let's thank everyone who supported us, and forgive those who didn't." A few people glanced at me. One woman whispered, "Isn't that his sister?" I felt heat climb my neck. Not shame, something colder. I smiled back, lifted my own glass, met Lucas's eyes. He thought this was the moment he broke me. What he didn't know was that every word, every slight, every public lie was being witnessed by exactly the people who needed to see it. And the cameras hadn't stopped rolling. I didn't leave the gala early. That surprised them. I stayed until the speeches ended, until the last glass was poured, until Lucas relaxed, until he believed he'd won. I even congratulated him, thanked my parents for including me. My mother looked almost disappointed that I hadn't cried. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open, the city lights flickering through the window, and finally allowed myself to feel the weight of what they'd done. The dismissal. The rewrite of my life. The way they'd tried to shrink me publicly. Then I closed the emotion and opened the strategy. 2 years earlier, I'd co-founded a logistics tech company with 2 partners. Quietly, intentionally separate from my family name. We'd solved a niche problem in supply chains no one else wanted to touch. While Lucas played air, I built infrastructure. I still held equity. A lot of it. And last month, we'd finalized evaluation. I drafted one email. Polite. Brief. To my attorney. By morning, she replied with one sentence. "They're going to regret underestimating you." The plan wasn't about revenge in a loud sense. No public meltdown. No courtroom drama yet. It was about timing. Leverage. Letting truth arrive on its own terms. 2 weeks later, my lawyer called and said, their lawyer just reached out. I asked why. She laughed softly. Because your name just showed up somewhere they didn't expect. And that's when I knew it was already in motion. The execution started quietly, the best kind. My lawyer scheduled a call with their legal team under the pretense of routine disclosure issue. No accusations. No drama. Just paperwork. The kind that looks harmless until it isn't. I listened on mute. Their lawyer sounded confident at first. He referenced the estate. The trust. Lucas's exclusive control. Then my attorney asked one simple question. Before you finalize the asset transfer, have you reviewed the minority stakeholder disclosures connected to Rowe Industrial Logistics? There was a pause. That entity isn't connected to the estate, their lawyer said carefully. My attorney replied, no, but the estate is connected to it. Silence stretched. Papers shuffled. 2 years earlier, when my father's company needed emergency capital, I'd stepped in quietly, not as a daughter, but as an investor. I'd structured it cleanly, legally, with rights that triggered only under specific conditions they'd just met by cutting me out. My attorney continued, calm as a metronome. Your client's attempt to consolidate assets activated a review clause, which revealed that my client now controls operational veto power over 3 subsidiaries. Their lawyer cleared his throat. That's not possible. I finally spoke. It is. You just never thought to ask me. The call ended abruptly. 10 minutes later, my phone rang again. This time, it was my father's number. I let it ring once. Then I answered. Tell me this is a misunderstanding. My father's voice wasn't calm anymore. It was thin, unsteady, like a man who'd just discovered the ground beneath him was rented. I told him it wasn't. He asked how long I'd been planning this. I corrected him. I told him I'd been preparing. There's a difference. Preparation assumes you might need to protect yourself. Planning assumes malice. I felt none. Lucas took the phone next. He didn't bother hiding the panic. You can't do this, he said. That company is tied to the estate's cash flow. I let the silence answer him. My mother was the last voice I heard. Softer now. Careful. We're family, she said. Why would you hurt us like this? That one almost made me laugh. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse. I just said, you already decided I wasn't family. I'm just acting accordingly. By the end of the week, the gala donors were asking questions. Deals paused. Advisors started backing away. Nothing exploded. It just stalled. Power drained out of the room slowly, like air from a punctured tire. They tried to meet with me in person. I declined. Closure didn't require proximity. Then my lawyer called with one last update. They want to settle. I asked what that meant. She said, they're ready to acknowledge you. I stared out my window, the city glowing below, and realized acknowledgement was no longer the goal. But I was curious what it would cost them. The offer came in writing. They wanted to reinstate me in the will. Not equally, but generously. They wanted a photo op. A family reconciliation. My mother even suggested dinner, as if a meal could undo years of erasure. I said no. Instead, I countered with something simpler. I kept my equity, my veto rights, my independence. In exchange, I agreed to step away completely from the estate, the name, the narrative. No public fight. No interviews. Just silence. Their lawyer hesitated. My father didn't. He showed up at my office unannounced. Older than I remembered. Smaller, somehow. This isn't possible, he kept saying. You didn't have the resources. I met his eyes and said, you taught me how to survive. You just never thought I'd use it without you. He left without arguing. Months later, Lucas sold part of the estate to cover losses. The headlines called it strategic restructuring. I called it accurate. I changed my last name legally. Not out of spite, out of clarity. I didn't need inheritance to prove my worth. I needed distance. The last thing my mother ever said to me was, we didn't think you could do it alone. She was right about one thing. I didn't. I did it free.